New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and his top advisors, it looks like, pressured state health officials to remove a public report showing more nursing home residents died of COVID-19 than the administration acknowledged. According to the Wall Street Journal this morning, the report in July focused only on residents who died in long-term care facilities, but left out those who died in hospitals after becoming sick in nursing homes. The Cuomo administration reported 6,432 nursing home residents died from the outbreak. The actual number, closer to 10,000. Joining us now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman Malliotakis is also the assistant whip of the House Republican Conference. Nicole, good to see you.
Same here, Tom. Great to be with you.
You know, another day, another piece of evidence. The Cuomo administration manipulated the numbers. What do you think of these new reports out today in the Journal?
Look, this is more and more evidence piling up on top of Andrew Cuomo, who, as you remember, when his own chief of staff came out and said that there was a cover-up, she was recorded in that secret conversation with the state legislators. Well, he had said there was no cover-up, and it was, quote unquote, a mistake. Well, now we know that he was lying to the people of the state of New York and the people of America, and that indeed there was a cover-up, that they purposely underreported because they didn't want the public to know, and that they were hiding information from the Department of Justice as well.
Do you have confidence in the Biden Department of Justice? They say that they're doing an investigation into this. But Andrew Cuomo was one of Joe Biden's first endorsers, one of his biggest political supporters. And certainly Cuomo has a lot of money in the bank, and he's a big Democrat booster all across the country. Do you have confidence in their ability to do this and ensure that justice is served here?
Well, look, obviously this is of great concern, and we are hopeful that the Department of Justice will be independent, that they will conduct this investigation without interference. We know that this is something that has come up in the Senate hearings. We know that members of Congress are also asking for this to be an independent investigation, because we need to get to the bottom of this. 15,000 Americans, New Yorkers, died as a result of his misguided policy. And now we know that there was a cover-up to make sure that the public didn't know how many people actually died as a result of that policy. And so people do deserve answers. These families deserve justice. And we're going to continue to push for that. And we do hope that answers are going to be provided to these families by the Department of Justice. Mm-hmm. And that's the best we can do, is hope for that. In the meantime, we will continue to see more information coming out through the media, which they can't turn a blind eye to.
Right. Unfortunately, that's not the only scandal Cuomo is taking heat for. 3 women, as you know, have come forward accusing the governor of sexual harassment. One of his accusers, Charlotte Bennett, spoke with CBS News about her allegations. She says the 63-year-old Cuomo became fixated on her love life. Take a listen.
So he goes, "You were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted." He asked if I had trouble enjoying being with someone because of my trauma.
Congresswoman, this is creepy. It is insidious. Ms. Bennett is a sexual assault survivor. Cuomo knew that, and yet he continued to press her with questions that got progressively suggestive about a relationship, a sexual relationship between the two of them. Your thoughts on that bombshell interview?
Yeah, look, as if the misguided nursing home policy, the stonewalling of the state legislature, the cover-up, as well as the bullying of a state assembly member wasn't enough for Cuomo to resign. You also have these sexual harassment allegations. Yeah, absolutely disturbing. Her testimony was heartbreaking. Here's a sexual assault victim who is 40 years younger. In addition to those questions that she said there, she previously had said that he had asked her if she had sex with older men. It was completely inappropriate. And if this was corporate America, he'd be fired. And that's why I continue to urge New Yorkers to add their name at enoughcuomo.com if they believe that the governor needs to resign now.
There's a new poll out of Quinnipiac that shows 55% of New Yorkers say they do not think that he should resign. 40% say that he should. 59% of respondents told Quinnipiac that they were not satisfied with Cuomo's handling of the sexual harassment allegations thus far. It shows his approval rating plummeting from 72% last May to 45% this month. Now, I need to preface this by saying that this is a bit of fake news because only about 16% of Republicans were in the respondents. So the numbers are actually far worse than these. Congresswoman, you dealt with this guy when you were in the state assembly. Do you think that he will, at this point, run for re-election? You know that he's been an enforcer. He's been an enforcer going back to 1977. He has a reputation for being a bully and for not admitting when he's done something wrong here. What do you think is going to happen?
First of all, I'm very glad that you pointed out that Quinnipiac poll was not weighted based on registration. So, yeah, the numbers would be much more in favor of his resignation if they were accurately weighted. But I agree with you that this is somebody who is very stubborn. It will be difficult to get him to admit his wrongdoings, to actually apologize and take responsibility, as we've been seeing all along in this nursing home scandal. But I do believe that the governor will find it very difficult to run for re-election. And you remember that when his father ran for a fourth term, he ended up losing to Governor George Pataki. And hopefully he's learned a lesson here based on what happened to his father, that you can't outdo your welcome. 3 terms is more than enough. It's why we should have term limits at the state legislature. And that's something I support as well, in addition to the term limits at the congressional level.
Absolutely, and you know there should be a two-term limit in New York. It's something they've debated, but the state legislature, the Democrats in the legislature don't want to pass it. Let's talk about this neo-socialist spendathon in Washington that is moving through the Senate right now. Vice President Kamala Harris broke the tie vote to advance that spendorama to a floor debate that is happening today. Your thoughts on this? I've been calling it kind of UBI, Universal Basic Income Light. It adds millions of Americans to the government dole. It could disincentivize work, and has very little to do with COVID relief. Your thoughts on this bill? You're talking to America right now. What do they need to know about it?
Well, first they need to know that they tampered with the process, so they would only need that 51 votes instead of 60. So they did not want to have any Republican input or any Republican debate, which is why President Biden was so dishonest when he said he wanted to do this in a bipartisan fashion. Nothing about this was bipartisan. They jammed it through the committee process. They actually refused any amendments to this bill, whether it's from Republicans or Democrats. And the bill spends $1.9 trillion, as we know, 600-page bill that took 10 hours to read on the floor yesterday of the Senate. And yet Nancy Pelosi only gave us 30 minutes to debate. The entire Republican conference, all 435 members, given 1 hour to expose what was in this bill. And I could tell you that obviously that wasn't enough time. And there's a reason she did that, because she didn't want us to show all the pork that was in there. $3.5 billion going to a global fund, which makes American taxpayers responsible for 88% of the spending in that fund, when this is an international group. You look at the Planned Parenthood, of course, the Nancy Pelosi subway rail, which we were able to actually get out of that by exposing it. Thankfully. But the one thing I can't understand is, instead of cutting the pork, Senate Democrats chose to take away from actual American taxpayers. So if you're a mother of 4 that earns $80,000, you no longer get a stimulus check now, but we're still going to give money to this global fund that we're not sure what they're going to do with it. So there's a lot that's happening here that is not right. But most importantly, $1 trillion still left unspent from the previous packages. And we need this bill to be tailored to help those who are unemployed and truly need the assistance, and our small businesses who have been closed at no fault of their own.
Yeah, and 90% of this bill has nothing to do with COVID-19 and trying to get us out of the pandemic. I want to move on to H.R. 1, the so-called For the People Act, or the Democrat Politician Protection Act, as it has also been called by one of your colleagues. Sweeping voting reform bill. It was passed by the House. It's awaiting a vote in the Senate. You being from New York, there's a lot of stuff that's in this bill that is already in place like New York. Talk to us about your thoughts on the bill and this power grab that is really just shameless and would fundamentally change America as we know it.
Well, New York City has a public financing system, which means that taxpayer money is used for political campaigns with a match. And that is the system that they're trying now to bring at the federal level, claiming that it takes the money out of politics, that it levels the playing field. But the problem is it doesn't do any of those things. When I ran against Mayor de Blasio in 2017, I was outspent 4-1, and that would be regardless of whether they were matching funds or not. In addition to that, we know that the mayor continued to take big contributions, bundled contributions from donors who then got favors from City Hall. And in addition to that, we have seen over the years that there have been candidates for city council or actual sitting city council members who have been convicted of abusing this system to get the matching funds. Sure. Paid to their campaigns. So basically, this is a form of embezzlement using taxpayer money to fund political campaigns. But in addition to that, they want to have same-day voter registration, which doesn't give boards of elections an opportunity to vet the individual to make sure that they are actually a citizen, that they're eligible, that they live in the district. They want to ban voter ID laws. You know, a lot of the things that we brought up as concerns in this year's election, they actually now want to make permanent law and national law. Yeah. And it's very, very, very problematic.
Yeah, they'll make the whole country look like New York and California if they get this through. New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.